Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my Capstone presentation. My name is Croce, and I'm a senior at Wolcott High School. Like Emily said, Capstone is a project that includes an essential question, a research paper, a final product, and a 20-minute presentation. Capstone was a class that was offered to us last year that gave us the ability to choose whatever we wanted to do, whether it was something you like to do on the side or something you wanted to do in the future. It was really just a class for a product that you wanted to do. It was completely based on you and no one else. So I chose to take this class because it was a unique experience and it was different. There isn't really another class at Wolcott High that you can take where you have complete control over what you want to do. So I figured, why not take this as a senior? It's my last year, let's try something different. So I wanted to take this class and use it to my benefit, and I wanted to use it and to further what I wanted to do in the future. So I tried to use it as an extra experience that I could bring with me to college that would help me with my major. So my essential question was, how can teachers make math exciting? I chose this topic because I want to be a math teacher, so I figured, why not use this, take this question and go dig deeper and see what I can find out. And my goal was to teach a lesson, so I figured that would help me in college and I would have that extra experience, whereas some people might not have that. So the first step was the research, and throughout my research I looked up how to create a lesson plan because I had never done that before and I didn't know where to start with that. How students prefer to learn, because some people like hands-on activities, they like working in groups, others like working by themselves. So I looked up what were different ways that students actually preferred to learn. I looked up if incentives were helpful. Sometimes you have to get students motivated by giving them something in the end, like a reward. And I looked up things like, what do students like or dislike about math, and if the teacher matters, if it's, sometimes students tend to learn better from a male or a female, so I also looked that up. So what I decided to do was I took an internship and I observed Miss DeVille's geometry class, which is in the audience right now. And I observed her class for a few weeks and then I finally taught a lesson. So I observed her class for about like a month and I just sat in and I just sat in the corner and I just watched. I didn't really get that involved. I kind of just sat and I observed how she interacted with the students and how the students interacted with her, how she went about teaching her lesson, how she summed everything up, and if like the students liked her lesson, if they understood it, and what they thought about it. So I learned that students, it seemed that they best responded to a PowerPoint. She always made her notes in the form of a PowerPoint, and they got notes that matched the PowerPoint and they had to fill it in, and as a student myself, I learned best that way, so I knew that that's how I wanted to teach my lesson. And I also learned that there can be sudden interruptions throughout the class. Even students who aren't really in her class sometimes come in and you kind of have to get them out. And there's also sometimes like that one student that likes to joke around and then it kind of gets the other student off topic. So that can be hard trying to get them on track, but it's like that in every class. So my next step was creating my lesson plan. So when I sat down with Ms. DeVille, I talked to her and she said that I would be teaching my lesson on geometric probability. So I took the book and I looked up like a few of the lessons, and it was a pretty fun topic, I would say, and I just found like different fun activities that we can do that would be like hands-on, to that they could look at and like they could actually do out, because I figured that would help them more understand it. So I had to plan and create the lesson, and I had to gather all the materials, and then I went over it with Ms. DeVille and we made sure that that I was covering everything and that it was understandable. So these are some of the pictures that I took while I was doing my lesson. So So after I actually taught the lesson and they took their notes, there were 5 different activities that they did. So the first picture is of Twister, and I gave them a spinner and a set of questions to go along with it, and they just had to like spin it and find the probability of how many, like what are the chances that they would land on green, or what are the chances that they would land on blue. One of the other activities I did was I just brought in a bunch of like pennies and dice, and I did kind of the same thing to see what are the chances if you flipped a coin 10 times that it would land on heads or tails. The third activity was I bought like a Velcro like ball activity, like the outside one, and I like taped it to the wall, and I made like a backboard, and they had to find the area of the backboard and then the area of the circle and see what the chances of them hitting the actual target was. And the fourth activity in the bottom is, it's like a dartboard. I projected a dartboard onto the whiteboard, and then I bought, it's like a plastic set of darts, and they had to find the area again of the backboard and then the area of the circle to see what the chances of them hitting the actual target were. And then the last activity was, it was actually one of the activities that was in the book, and it was one of the activities that they struggled with while learning. So I figured I would bring that one to life so they could actually see it and understand it better. So I put a cup on a desk, and they had to find the area of the desk and then the area of the cup to see what the chances of them getting it in the cup were. And I made sure while doing this that they completed their work first before actually trying it, because if I just gave them the stuff and I just let them do it, they could get off topic and just start like goofing around. So I made sure that all the work was done first and then they tried it, because I figured that that would help them learn better. So what I learned from teaching the math class was that it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. Watching Miss Seville, she makes it look very easy, and she makes it look really fun, and I wanted it to be like that. I wanted to have fun with them, and I didn't want them to dread the entire math class, which I hope they didn't. And it was very hard to get them on task because I am a senior in high school and I'm not a teacher, so I didn't want them to think that like I was just there to play around. I wanted them to take me seriously. And it was a lot of control and a lot of responsibility, and we ended up running out of time in the end to do the activities, so that was kind of hard because some people only got to do 3 activities when there was 5, so that was hard to get them to actually clean up in the end. And I learned that when you become a teacher, you don't really know. You can't really plan accordingly to time sometimes because you never know how it's going to pan out. You don't really know how long the activities are going to take. And I also learned that it's difficult to make a lesson plan, and I made the mistake of waiting until the day before to actually gather all of my materials. I thought it was going to be easy, and I thought I was just going to be able to throw it together the night before, but it actually took a lot of work considering I never made a lesson plan before. I learned to always be prepared, and that it's always best in the end of your lesson to sum it up and kind of make sure they don't have any last minute questions, so that if they have homework to take home, they know what they're doing. So overall, I think this was a really great experience for me. I'm really happy I took this class. Going into it, I wasn't really sure what I was in for. I didn't know what it was going to be like because there was only one grade of students who did it before. But I'm really happy I took it because I think it really helped me, and I've never wrote a research paper before, and going to college next year, I think that's something that I really need to know how to do. I also think that it helped me learn to overcome obstacles. I had never really dealt with students before, like teaching them, so sometimes it was hard when they would ask questions. Sometimes I didn't really know how to answer them and to respond to them, so I kind of learned how to deal with that and how to go about those problems, because I'm sure as a teacher, when I get out of college, I will face that. And I also learned how to be better organized. This class was really, you were kind of self-reliant, and Miss Thies and Mr. McIntyre didn't really like say, okay, by this time you should have like your paper done, like by this time you should be halfway through your product. It was really, you kind of had to depend on yourself, and it was, you had to learn time management and you had to know where you should be in your process. So next year I will be attending LaSalle College in Newton, Massachusetts, and I will be going in as a secondary education math major. And that is another reason why I took this class and I chose the essential question that I did, because next year when I go to college, not many students in my major are going to have this experience, and I'm really excited to be able to share with them that I've already taught a lesson and I've already gotten in a classroom with students. And I'd just like to say thank you to Mr. McIntyre, Ms. Thies, Ms. Stabile, my mentor, and her Period 3 Geometry class, and the Capstone Committee. At this time, I'll take any questions or comments.
The lesson plan that you wrote up, did you find that exceptionally useful when you actually stood in front of the class and taught your lesson, or is it something more that you could have just referenced while teaching?
I actually, when I was planning out the lesson, I kind of did like bullets, and it wasn't until really after I taught my lesson that I was better able to organize it, which I know that's not really like the sequence it's supposed to go in, but I never wrote a lesson plan before, so I kind of, my lesson plan before I taught it was kind of just the materials I needed, the goal of the class, their homework, and I just included like the worksheets and everything. And then it wasn't until afterwards where I better organized it. So I think it was helpful in the end because I was able to see like, did I reach my goal, like did they understand it, and like stuff like that.
Right.
Did your own experiences as a student help you while teaching?
I think so, because right now I take calculus and I don't understand it really. Like every other math really came easy to me, but this one doesn't. So I think it's hard as a teacher or as someone who likes math, because when people ask questions about math, you kind of think, well, like why don't they get that? Like I get that, why don't they? So I think that because there's this math that I don't understand, I know that math doesn't come easy to everyone, so you kind of have to take a step back and you just have to break it down for them. And especially when I made my lesson plan, I knew that I learned better with like PowerPoints and hands-on activities, so I used my experience to make my lesson plan for them because I thought that they would learn best that way.
Did you happen to ask students in general how they learn best, and what made you choose those particular activities as to why you thought those were the most fun?
Before I taught my lesson, I handed out a survey to the class, and it just had basic questions like what's your favorite subject, what's your least favorite subject, why don't you like math, how do you prefer to learn if you have a preference, and do you prefer like a male or female teacher? So when I was going over those results, a lot of the students said they like to work in groups and like they'd rather not just sit there and just take notes all class, and especially because I taught over a block period, so it was an hour. So I wanted to mix it up, and I didn't just want to sit there the entire class and just give them information. I wanted them to get their hands on it and actually do them out, so I thought that would help them more. Anything else? Thank you.